Hi guys, my name is Miles, welcome back to the channel, and today we are answering an undying question, which is, as a schizophrenic, why is my house so creepy? And yes, I've been asked this multiple times by multiple different parties. Anyone who visits my house at some point will ask about the decor or the overall style or theme. The answer to that actually lies in my diagnosis. As a schizophrenic who was diagnosed very young, my life has been full of very disturbing hallucinations. And yes, I mean the kind of stuff straight out of a horror movie that makes you want to hide under your bed or in your closet. And believe me, as a kid I tried both and neither worked. During the time I was using my art to explain to other people what I saw, and I was experiencing a very high level of very gory, very vivid, very disturbing hallucinations that I could not get a reprieve from. They inundated every part of my life and made daily living a real chore. It was during this time that, in an attempt to normalize them, I drew pictures of them and then I put them up all over my walls. This came as quite a bit of a shock to my family, who was not happy that I had done this and would routinely take them down. But they didn't really understand what I was kind of doing at the time, which I'm going to explain further in this video. To make peace with all of the crazy, wild, disturbing things that I was seeing, I realized that I had to either live my life in complete fear of them 24/7, or I had to find a way to accept them as just part of what was then my normal. Despite being on various different medications and having med trials planned, there was one thing that I absolutely could not shake, and that was the nature of my hallucinations when they did appear. I would see skeletons, I would see decomposing bodies, mangled bodies, bodies with deformations, I would see people with facial features missing or huge injuries on their body, and I was absolutely horrified by all of this. But once again, it was a pervasive issue that continued to keep coming up regardless of what kind of media I consumed or where I kept my thoughts. It was something I couldn't meditate or pray away, it was just part of what I was dealing with. Now, I've applied this theory to other things in life and it doesn't work as well, but for me, what worked best was to fill my life with things that would make my hallucinations less jarring. And I'm saying that kind of generally, but what I mean is, instead of being so upset by the things that I was seeing, I created a space that would then make them seem less concerning or less disturbing because they were sort of at home, if you will. I'm putting air quotations around at home because at first this was very hard for me. But I did my best in finding items and/or images or toys that kind of looked similar to my hallucinations or were of a darker sort of sense, and I would put them absolutely everywhere so that my hallucinations, when they did appear, seemed rather at home. They weren't as jarring, startling, or upsetting because they kind of just fit with the atmosphere. Now, this was not something my family and/or my parents were very happy about. They did not understand it at the time, and I had many items and photos removed from my room in an attempt to make them more comfortable, which then in turn made me very uncomfortable. This was kind of an ongoing argument because it was something that was helping me cope at the time, and inadvertently they were removing one of my coping mechanisms, which was not only to make my hallucinations seem less strange by putting them in an environment where there were other things like them, but also to come to terms with it myself, to say, here's something that absolutely scares the pants off of me, and I am gonna make a friend of it. In fact, I'm gonna learn to enjoy it, and I'm gonna do so because I don't wanna live in this constant fear every day, and you can't fear something that you love. I mean, yes, don't come after me. I know there are certain interesting circumstances that might make this true, but what I'm saying is it's hard to be terrified of something that you've found a genuine interest and/or adoration for, which is kind of what led into my obsession of creating a space like this where my hallucinations didn't seem odd. They were just part of the pack. In the same way that I often surround myself by animals to make me feel like I have my own little family and to be understood by other beings that are not humans, my room became a place where hallucinations kind of blended into everything that was going on. And when I ended up being removed from my prior living situation and moved into the house that I now live in, my therapist encouraged me to make the space my own and to really go wild with my tastes and design choices because it was then completely up to me and I could do what I wanted. This in turn really helped me to make a safe and nurturing space for myself, despite being relatively on my own. So yes, if you come over to my house and you sit down on my couch, you will meet Romeo and Shakespeare the skeletons. I've given them names, in my house they have an abject purpose, and that's what makes them all the friendlier. Over many years, I've come to terms with making friends with the things that scare me. This also transferred over to roaches, but that's a story for another time. In short, if you come to my house and it looks like Halloween all year round, you now know why. The items that might scare other people are actually things that I find very comfortable now. If you surround yourself in the things that you fear, you'll do one of two things. Either you will adapt and you will learn to live with them, or you will spend every day in terror unnecessarily. This is why to others my house may seem so creepy, but to me, it's home. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any questions, as always, please leave them down in the comment section and I will answer them all as soon as I can. Thank you guys, I love you all, stay awesome.